Hello and welcome back to New Script on the Block. Today we are doing a guest writer episode and we are together again with Christopher Washington to read his script, Jade Mountain. If you have not checked out our previous episode of Jade Mountain, please be sure to head over to our SoundCloud, YouTube, or Apple podcast to check out the first half of Jade Mountain before you hop into this episode. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty lost. Whether you love listening to interviews with independent filmmakers, hearing unique indie film scripts, or catching a glimpse into how big blockbuster scripts were written, you can catch more screenwriting info here every week by subscribing on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or comment at us wherever you're listening and tell us what you want to hear more of. All right, today we're just going to hop straight into the script. We're on page 13, everybody. And I will let Christopher go ahead and take over with the narration.
Thank you. Exterior, Zhao home training area, evening. Zhao is practicing his Kung Fu eyebrow staff and realizes both of his children are late getting home. Zhao stops his training when he hears a knock at the door. Magistrate Mao Jing is at the door. Master Zhao! I need to speak with you. It's urgent.
Yes, magistrate. Come in, sir.
The magistrate enters the home and sits at the table with Zhao. There is talk, sir. I must address it. You have been accused of setting fire to the Dragon House factory.
What? That's not me. You know me.
Yes, I do. That's why I'm here. To talk to you about it, not to arrest you. I don't think you did this, Zhao.
Then who?
I'm not sure. Just to be sure, where were you 2 hours ago, Master?
I was here, training. Both my son and daughter should be back soon. My son went to the dock for charcoal, and my daughter went to the market to make sure the celebration dinner will be perfect.
Oh, what is the occasion? Yu meets Chen on the road home. Chen, whose clothes are torn away, revealing that she was raped, crawls out to him nearly naked with blood running from her nose and mouth. Yu picks her up and carries her for a short while until he sees Pierre in his wagon. Pierre gives them a short ride to the house. Yu carefully takes Chen from the wagon with tears in his eyes and carries her to the door.
We have essentially saved enough now to expand. We will operate out of both Hunan and Hong Kong. I may even open an additional business in Hue.
The door opens slowly and Bu has Chen in his arms, with Bu and his sister both weeping. Exterior, Chan training yard, evening. Mr. Chan is training with some half-dozen of his student workers. They are attacking him from all sides, and he is beating every one of them. There is a pounding on the door of the house, and Chan goes to answer, with a few students following behind.
Chan! Chan!
Two of Chan's students go out to meet Zhao, and he kills them both with strikes to the throats and temples.
Chan!
Two more students come out to meet Zhao, and he hits them both with palm strikes to the bladder. They both crumple to the ground.
Chan!
Two more students advance with long pole weapons. Zhao pulls a chain whip from his coat and lays one student out with a strike to the bridge of the nose with the tip of the chain whip, and smashes the knee of the other student with the chain whip.
Chan!
Chan slowly walks to the opening of the door. This time, both men have the looks of death on their faces. Exterior road, night. Pierre is on his way home when he is stopped by 6 bandits.
Why are you here?
That is a silly question. I live less than 1 hour's ride from here.
That's what I mean. Why are you in our country?
I love this country.
And our woman?
Yes. Well, I only love one.
Enough talking. Someone teach this French dog how it feels about foreigners.
The bandits move around the wagon, but in the shadows, figures emerge. 3 incredibly fast shadows.
I don't think this has anything to do with how you feel about the French in your beloved country. This country is full of people who are out for themselves. This is not the China we know in France. The China I read about is the dream of the Orient. You, sir, are the scourge of it.
You should have stayed in France then.
One of the monks throws a steel star and hits the lantern, lighting some of the area. The monks emerge from the darkness and kill the bandits with flurries of strikes with butterfly swords. The third monk sees Pierre out in the open and runs to protect him. A shot rings out.
Young sir, Shiguo!
A group of boys walking on the road sees the monks with the bandits and Pierre. Xian, who ran to Pierre, is shot through the back, with the same bullet piercing Pierre's chest. The monks run over to Pierre and Xian, who have been shot by one of the bandits who pulls a pistol.
Hey! The monks have killed a fellow monk and a Frenchman! Call the magistrate! Call the magistrate!
Interior, Zhao home, night. Chen and her mother, Lady Zhao, are packing their things to leave for Vietnam.
Mother, why are we doing this?
We have to go to my home, Chen. It's the only way.
Wait, you've been planning this all along?
We're taking your father's money and we're going across the river. We could start over there. There's too much talk here of corruption. In Vietnam, no one knows us. We could live very well on what we have. Chan is going to kill your father anyways.
My brother still walks with a limp, and my father just went to challenge a man for threatening us. How can you do this?
He is just a man. I will find another. Get your things.
I'm not leaving my father and my brother here.
Shut up. Chan will be...
Chan? Why would you be leaving with Chan?
Get your things. He'll take care of us. We will have our Jade Mountain one way or another, with Zhao or without. This is about survival, doing what is necessary to survive. You need cunning. You will have to learn this eventually.
Chen kills her mother with a butterfly sword.
I have figured this out, Mother. You need loyalty. One smart man in the open is a fool. The man surrounded by 5 others is a smart one. You betrayed my father, and you will pay for that.
Chen takes some of the gold her parents saved and spreads the powder throughout the house. Chen sets it on fire and runs from the house screaming.
Chan's men killed my mother! Chan's men killed my mother!
Exterior, Chan house, night. Chan and Zhao face each other, ready to kill.
You are a fool, Zhao. I will have your money, and much more.
After I knock your teeth out of your mouth, I'm going to break your neck, Chan.
So you're here to kill me out of revenge?
No, Chan. This is out of rage.
The two battle each other and a small crowd gathers. Chan throws a series of strikes, and Zhao returns every one. Chan's spinning kick shatters an oil lamp and it catches the wall on fire. Chan throws a punch at Zhao that barely misses and drives a hole into the wall behind Zhao.
This is for my children.
Zhao ducks underneath Chan's extended arm and shatters his elbow with a rising palm strike. Chan howls in pain.
This is for my wife.
Zhao slams his elbow into Chan's rib cage and whispers in his ear.
And this is for me.
Zhao kills Chan by first punching him with an uppercut that shatters his teeth, then hits him in the base of the brain with a knife hand strike. One of the crowd shouts.
It was like a hand of iron. Iron Hand Zhao has killed Cannonball Fish Chan.
Zhao leaves in a hurry towards home, where he meets the remaining 2 monks, his daughter and son. The group makes their way to the docks and board the next ship.
Master Zhao, we can never return to our home. We have no food and no money to contribute. We will be in your debt and we will work for the Zhao clan. And always, sir, you have our underlying loyalty.
Both monks bow.
Sorry, I'm all these people. Where will we go? What will we do? It's a good thing you are not going to Vietnam. The Treaty of Hue is in force. Both China and France have given up on Vietnam.
We will do what is necessary.
And where we will go is the Jade Mountain.
Zhao and Chen look at each other and offer slight smiles as they gaze onto the waters leading to America. Interior, Zhao master bedroom, night. Chen's dream. A little girl is walking through her home's hallway, following the sounds of heavy breathing, sounds that get louder. The little girl enters the bedroom and sees Lady Zhao laying with Chan. Lady Zhao is moaning and pumping her body up and down on top of Chan, and the little girl starts to cry as she reaches her hand out. Lady Zhao's arms turn into dragon's wings, and a dragon engulfs Chan in a blazing bed. The dragon's face transforms into a burnt image of Lady Zhao.
Do what you must. Prosper. The Jade Mountain knows no remorse. If you want to climb it, you must climb to the top.
Chen wakes up from the nightmare and looks around. She is in the bottom of the ship with the other passengers. Chen approaches Shiguo, who is awake but in meditation. A single tear rolls down her cheek. Interior ship holding area, night. Shiguo opens his eyes and addresses Chen.
Shiguo. Master Shiguo.
Yes, child. What is it?
How do you sit there and just sit there?
And what would you have me do? We cannot go home. We cannot go home.
Is home really that good? I mean, the Hui Treaty and the politics cut us from the world.
I am a monk of the Order of Shaolin. We are supposed to uphold ideas, not run from them.
We can exercise our ideals in America. We just have to change what those ideals were. We are here, now, going to America. Whatever happens, happens only from here. No past, only the present and the future. And my family will need you, Shaolin.
Only from here. And you will have us, Lady Zhao. Chen smiles at her protector. To be continued.
This podcast is brought to you by Arizona Studios. Arizona Studios, a full-service video content specialist. We're here to illuminate your message and compel your audience to take the right action. For more information, head to our website at arizonastudios.com and be sure to tune in for more content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Nice.
Ooh, that was a lovely voice you did at the end there. That worked really well.
Thank you. I was practicing
Yeah,
my
it
Shaw
did.
Brothers Kung Fu film voices. I was doing it with my wife earlier. I was like, what
Nice.
voice would they ask me to be?
Well, it worked out perfectly. All right. Great. I think we're at a good point to hop into questions. And I know Nira had typed up a few. Before I dive into the general questions, does anyone have anything specific they want to ask Christopher about Jade Mountain?
My first question, and this might have said it at the top, and I'm trying to scroll up and find it. When did you see this being, like, what time period, like, in what year did you see this being based upon?
Around early 1900. And the reason why is because the year of the goat, which I don't know why I came up with that, but I like goats. We were talking about goats that day. So I came up with the year of the goat, and it was the early 1900s. And I wanted it to be right before automobiles were invented. But as my wife started to research, right around early 1900s is when Deming, New Mexico, started doing all this trafficking for opium. And with
Okay.
a lot of Asian in the population. So the period would be 1900, and the story actually goes to about 1930.
So real quick, just for listeners who maybe didn't catch the last episode, you just mentioned that around this time opium became a big deal in Deming, New Mexico. Can you? Oh gosh, sorry about that. Can you just recap for our audience, what direction the plot's heading in after this point that we leave off on?
Oh, yes. From here, they go to Deming, New Mexico. They try to establish themselves in the community, and he winds up finding employment. And from this part of the story onward, if I was to give you like a preview, like a coming next week on Jade Mountain, it would be that kind of thing. It would be they're sailing and they're taking care of things, and all of a sudden it's pirates, that kind of thing. And then they make it to New Mexico, and they make it to California first, and then they go to New Mexico from there. And there they start meeting the people of the West and the employment there, which is actually working in the mine. There's a lot of mines in New Mexico. And he becomes, because he's skilled at explosives, he gets a job working in the mine.
So real quick, Christopher, is this your vision for this is to be a feature film, a series, a franchise of movies?
This was actually written for, this is the pilot for a television series.
Fantastic. And how, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it would extend 30 episodes over 3 seasons.
Perfect. That was exactly what I was going to ask.
I have a couple of questions here, and this is just kind of go over your process, and I was very interested into knowing, and we could definitely share this to our listeners and whatnot, is to kind of like talk about your struggles when writing it, and like that might help other writers, like oh hey, I'm going through that same struggle. Have you encountered anything like that when writing this script?
When writing this one, I found myself telling myself not to be afraid of submersing yourself in that culture. If you're going to write something about a Chinese family, immerse yourself in Chinese understanding. You don't have to speak Chinese and everything, but you should understand how they move, how they operate, how they, get together as family and outside the home. So when I do that, I really enjoy different kinds of cultures. So I try to immerse myself in different, nationalities. So I would say to that person, become what you're writing about at the moment.
Oh, I like that.
Can I ask? I'm just curious. What was your process of immersing yourself into that culture? How did you go about doing that?
Okay, well, since I grew up having a father, a karate teacher for a father, I was very much into the whole Asian thing. But the Shaw Brothers movies, I used to watch a lot of those, and my brother's godmother is actually Chinese, so I was around it quite a bit. And then when I was watching one of my favorite shows with Constance Wu in it, I saw an article where she said that there wasn't enough Asian representation in the current, film fields. So I wrote it. I said, well, okay, now let's see how this turns out. And I just fell in love with keep writing it, and I just kept doing it.
Okay, you kind of mentioned it before that you had like some movies that you were influenced by. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like a little bit more about that? How those movies you meant, like how that directly influenced your work, and also if there's any other like pre-existing works that helped you along the way, like just like, hey, I really liked watching this one thing and I really liked the way they approached it, and how can I use that? So if you want to kind of talk about that.
One movie that sticks out for me, as far as like, I love to write movies that come back around. The Butterfly Effect. And
Oh wow.
and yeah, in that, how do you take things that are obvious, change them, and bring them back to the beginning somehow? And but I try to look at a lot of movies. My wife loves horror movies, so I try to look at some of those, and science fiction. I'm a huge science fiction fan. But as a writer, my wife is who got me into writing in the first place. I was always a fan of sci-fi and action stuff. But when she got me into writing, it changed how I look at movies. Now I look at movies and go, okay, how's the story? What does it tell the story? I find it very difficult to look at movies now like I used to look at movies. I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What? No.
Hey, said you reminded me of something. Hold on, let me. I don't want to lose it. Give me a second. So you said you like science fiction and horror, and like there's a director, James Wan. I think he started off as being a horror director for well-known horror movies, but then he started to he got into directing Aquaman, and he actually embedded a little bit of that horror genre that he's so familiar with into that superhero movie that's a blockbuster. Now, is there any interest in any genre interest you had prior that you are kind of uh, planting a little bit into Jade Mountain? That dream sequence, I think that could easily become very horrific, and there's a little bit of body horror there with transformations into dragons and whatnot.
Yeah, and I do have an affinity for the fantasy adventure. Again, my wife, she got me into, and I had never even heard of it prior except for The Hobbit, but she got me into Lord of the Rings, and that just kind of changed how I saw a lot of things in terms of the visualization of those things. And I actually wrote another set of films that are based entirely upon fantasy and adventure.
Oh, nice. Well, if you ever feel like you're, you want to share those, you could definitely come back to this podcast, right?
Well, I'd love to. One is called Klaus the Witch Killer.
Ooh.
And it's about you-know-who.
All right. Okay, just a couple of questions as a writer. Is there a favorite character that you enjoyed writing for, for Jade Mountain?
Yes. What's I guess referred to as the engine, which is Chen. The girl, she is the line that runs through the whole presentation. She comes up all the way through the timeline, and she, as to whether or not she actually finds the Jade Mountain, we can't say yet, but she's the thread that runs through the whole story, and she's the one that I got most attracted to. Everything is built around her. She's my favorite character in that every other character branches off from some relationship thread with her.
Oh, I see. She's holding everyone together in terms of the narrative, huh?
Yes, she's the Rick Grimes to this whole, she's that, that person that ties everything together.
Cool. Do you have a second character that you enjoyed writing?
Yes, her father, Mr. Zhao. He's a man who's he's like most guys. He's like most guys his age. He's just trying to keep his family together, be prosperous. And, he can, with that spirit, he can be prosperous anywhere. He finally convinces himself of that. Just like most of the guys, whose dad moved them from one state to another. They didn't know what they were going to get into, but he had enough together that he can make it. So that was the other character I like. And that guy can fight.
Nice. Yeah, he beat the crap out of Chan, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because when I write these scenes, I actually do the moves in my room. My wife laughs at me, but I'm doing the moves in my room and stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is going to look dope on film. And then I go back and type it up before I forget it.
Nice. Well, that comes into another question I have is you said earlier that you like to you recommend that writers put themselves into that culture, into the characters and in the story. Is there a character that's that you really kind of put yourself into when you were writing them? This is kind of almost a mirror or reflection of your personality and your principles and everything like that. Would that be Zhao?
It would more be the monk.
Oh, okay.
If I had to identify with a character, because actually each one of those people have a little bit of me in them. Chen is trying to get the money. Bu is just trying to be a nice guy. Zhao's just trying to take care of his family, and the monks do everything they can to protect them. So there's a little of me in all of them. But if I was to look at it on film, I'd go, yeah, I like that monk. He's the cool one for me. And he has his struggles too, but he's loyal and he's a really kind heart. But again, he can fight too.
Gotcha.
if listeners want to learn more about Christopher as a writer and how he got started on this, I think they should go tune into the last episode. I know we talked a little bit more about that. But, you know, I think hearing your personal kind of autobiography in short form and getting to hear more about this project, it's been really fascinating to learn more about. We enjoyed it. I'm very excited to hopefully hear more from you, Christopher, in the future, especially seeing your exploration of other genres sounds really fascinating, since diversity in writing can be a struggle for writers. So I'm very excited to hear more of what type of stuff you're cooking up.
Well, I appreciate it, and I have one thing to say to you guys, and I have a question. Well, I'll ask the question first. What would you say to the people that are listening to encourage writers to come in here and listen, because you can really learn a lot by listening to this podcast? What would you say to them to get them in?
Well, sorry, I guess I'll start off first. This kind of shot into my brain when you asked that, is that everyone is the same, but everyone is different. Like, you know, if we're talking about writers who are listening, you know, we're in the same, that we want to put ourselves out there, put our work on to a page and, like, you know, explore stories. And we're alike because, you know, it's not easy. It's always going to be a struggle. You know, if you're a good screenwriter, cool and all, but, like, there's always going to be a struggle when you reach page 5 and then you're like, okay, what goes on page 6, you know, or what goes on page 25 or, you know, 112, you know? So I think to, you know, listen to people's processes is always going to be beneficial for growth, is, I guess, what I'm getting at.
I like that.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate
yeah,
that.
all processes
I might catch that, by the way. I
different
might
too.
use that, by the way. That's good. That's wisdom right there. That's wisdom.
Cool. I guess
Yeah.
I can be wise sometimes.
Thank you, Christopher, for the compliment. I mean, we love doing this show, and our hope is just that, you know, listeners get something informative or educational out of it, especially writers who are struggling through their process or figuring out their process. And I think that listening to local independent writers can be very relatable and close to home, but we also do reads of big blockbuster scripts, and that's nice because it shows us, you know, people who are out there and successful and making money at it and doing well. What does their process look like? What does their work look like? You know, how much changes between the time that the writer has created the script to when it's a completed film, and being comfortable as a writer accepting that those changes are going to occur and that it's not just your baby alone. Yeah, and then I think we also do a game called What the Film, and I think that's just about, you know, doing weird, creative, and fun things to fight off writer's block and just get your brain going.
You know, I think it's so awesome that you guys have a medium for writers to actually be heard. You know, and the pandemic can't stop you. Even this can't stop you. And I applaud you. I applaud you for it. And you guys sound like you're very much into the environment and things. I think I sent a script called Under to you, Alyssa.
I got The Veil and I got Jade Mountain.
Oh, okay. I have another one for you to look at. It's about the environment and pollution and mermaids and cool stuff. And
whoa, mermaids!
Mermaids! I'm down for mermaids.
Okay, I'm gonna have you receive that today, and you're gonna like it. It starts off with fracking, leads to this, leads to mermaids. You'll love it.
I will share it with the whole team. I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
And
Thank you.
if
Really
you go to my
appreciate
Facebook page, you'll see the movie poster for it. And you guys, I'm glad you like Jade Mountain, and it's awesome to hear it acted out. Jade Mountain just got official selection in the Urban Action Showcase Expo in New York, and next is the Asian Film Festival out of Los Angeles and I should hear about that, I think, next month.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Ooh,
Congratulations.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said you had a
So-
Facebook page? Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. I was just going to see if you want to go ahead and plug yourself, if you've got outlets for people to follow your work.
Oh, yeah. If you go to my Facebook page, that's Christopher Washington, and the new site will be up soon, ChristopherJWashington.com. Believe it or not, I actually got that. And it'll list some of the pages, like the first 5 or so, of each script that I have that's actually ready to be shot and things, so you can look at it. And it'll have movie posters and talking to people. I actually did 2 collaborations. One is Radical with Vikram Aulik. He's a great writer, good guy out here. And that's about relationships and religion and faith and stuff like that. And Chuse, which is a collaboration by Phil Collins and myself, which has also just got official selection in the Honors Script Festival 2020 and the Urban Action Showcase, and it's now in the Asian Film Festival, and I think it's in 2 or 3 others. I can't remember which ones, but that got official selection too. So now I have 4 official selections to look at, which is good. But this thing actually this gets writers heard, and this needs to get going, and it needs to be bigger, and you guys need to expand. This is awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate that so much. We really do. And the best way to keep growing is just, helping share one another's work. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with this platform, and hopefully it's reciprocated. Anytime we put something out, if you're out there listening, do share the project, because if you don't share it, and then less writers get heard in our community. And we just want to bring on even more local writers and give them a platform to be acknowledged and receive feedback from their community so they can get even better.
It's facts.
All right, everybody. That was Jade Mountain, Part 2. You can find Part 1 on our Apple Podcasts, our SoundCloud, and our YouTube channel and everything. And that was our guest, Christopher Washington. Right? So, Christopher Washington, thank you so much for getting involved in our podcast and allowing us to take a look at your script and talking about your process and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Awesome. And again, this is another aspiring screenplay writer. And if you want to hear more screenplay writers, any more guests who are in this industry and who are putting their work out there, you can subscribe to our SoundCloud, our YouTube channel, our Apple Podcasts for more of these episodes. So yeah, please like and subscribe, comment, get involved. As Christopher said, it's and Alyssa has said, it's good to get involved in everyone's work. So just put in everything out there. So thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.